Hey, what's up, you guys? What a card, man. UFC 296. Well, I understand that people didn't really enjoy it as much because of reasons that we'll go into right now. We had so many questions answered, and it almost acts as like a good ending to 2023. And man, kicking things right off, man, Colby Covington looked absolutely horrendous against Leon Edwards. The guy that we knew for the amount of pressure he puts on his opponents, the pace, the cardio, he wasn't there, man. He did not show up at all tonight. And man, I feel like I'm not the only one that thinks this, but I thought Leon really had to get a finish for this fight. It would have tied everything together. He had a masterful, performance, but, it was kind of, boring. Really, the only time he was losing the fight is when he decided to, wrestle Colby to, prove something, to the fans, to the critics that, hey, I can also wrestle as well. And man, he had some success. I mean, he took down Colby, even controlled him for a point in time. But, eventually Colby used his chain wrestling, to get the better of Leon. And so with all this being said, I mean, he picked him apart from a distance, man. Whenever Colby would enter countering, leg kicks, even teep kicks up the front, that worked really well against Colby, when he fought Usman. I think really what it was is that, coming down to the end, Colby just respected Leon's power way too much. He really didn't start, putting that pressure that we know him for, putting that pace until the 5th round. I mean, he came out, lunging, and he even won that round, man. So it kind of shows hey, dude, but if he would have started, earlier, he probably would have been able to get the win over Leon. I mean, Leon didn't have many answers for Colby's takedowns within that 5th round. It's only when Colby would just try to shoot from a distance that, Leon would defend. Even from the cage, he defended some. But it was with that 5th round when he started, mixing his strikes together, then shooting takedowns, controlling him. He did an excellent job. But that's just one round compared to the other 4 that he completely fumbled. I mean, regardless of what you think about, Leon, he had such a close fight against Usman, then kind of a lackluster performance against Colby. Some would say he had a really good performance, but at the same time, it was kind of it needed a little bit more. It was almost like he was sparring. For Leon, he's starting to show marks of a great champion, having these 2 amazing names at welterweight under his resume. So yeah, man, ultimately, I don't know who I want to see next for the title shot. I mean, if it were up to me, I'd love to see Shavkat, challenge, for the welterweight belt. But at the same time, knowing how the UFC likes to operate, I mean, Belal Muhammad did weigh in as a backup. He did show initiative. He did take on, Gilbert Burns on short notice as well and did them a solid with that one. Then again, too, we know that he doesn't have, the most funnest style. It's very, I guess some would say, boring. But yeah, so I think they could also lean towards Shavkat with him having such an exciting, style, 100% finishing rate. So really, I could see them going either one of both ways. But I think if I'd have to lean towards someone, I think they might give it to Belal next. And, for Colby, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure, man. He called out Wonderboy after the fight, at the press conference. He said he wants Wonderboy next. I actually really like that idea. I think him and Wonderboy would be an amazing fight. I honestly, personally would love to see that fight. These are 2 guys that have been at the top for a long time at welterweight, and, they've never fought each other. So I love the idea of matching these guys up together. And then, man, what a co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. Alexandre he looks so good in that fight, dude. I mean, he took Royval down at will, man. Whenever he wanted, he was putting Royval down. And, the swiftness of him changing through positions, and being able to really control him, it was just beautiful to watch. And that 5th round was scary, dude. It was getting scary. I mean, I thought he was rocked a couple times, but I mean, I guess he was just extremely tired. But Royval was really turning on the pace, man. He's an absolute dog. And going forward, seeing him in 5-round fights, 3-round fights, I have no problem knowing that guy has incredible cardio. I'm thinking for Alexandre, I mean, he's so good at the stand-up and grappling. There's not a lot of guys that can present him good challenges at flyweight. I mean, probably Muhammad Mokaev would match him, in the grappling, other guys such as Tatsira Taira, as they, make their come up. But for right now, obviously, the fight to make is the winner, of that Mexico card between Brandon Moreno and Amir Albazi. The winner has to fight, Alexandre Pantoja next. Then we have Shavkat versus Wonderboy, and dude, Wonderboy looks so good on the feet, so good. And his takedown defense was looking amazing. The one time that Shavkat got him down was all he needed. And man, that says a lot, dude. That shows that Shavkat, once he gets the opportunity, man, he just needs that one time. Wonderboy did an amazing job of landing those side kicks and keeping him from a distance, man. But once Shavkat got him to the cage, landed those, knees to the body and, found a way to take him down, man. But the athleticism of, Wonderboy, man, he was able to get some out of, some crazy spots, bro. He knew that going to the ground was not a smart idea at all. And man, dude, that squeeze at the end must have been so tight because he literally only had a couple seconds left. But yeah, I think personally, you got to give Shavkat Leon, he has to fight for the world title. I mean, the stat alone is insane. 18 wins, 18 finishes. It's, unheard of. And, of course, Colby and Wonderboy, that has my stamp of approval 100%. And man, sad enough, Tony Ferguson, 7-fight losing streak now. And he has Paddy the Baddy, on his, losing record. That to me is crazy. I do think it's time to hang it up, man. I don't think Tony can compete at a higher level, and these, higher level guys will hurt him. Like, imagine if Tony was in there with like Benoit Saint-Denis, maybe a Jalen Turner. Like, those guys would have hurt Tony bad tonight. Off the top of my head, I think Jim Miller and Tony Ferguson would be fun for a retirement fight, at UFC 300. But other than that, Tony does not need to stick around for any more fights, dude. Like, he had some success against Paddy, don't get me wrong. Like, Paddy has zero striking defense, he showed. But he also showed that he is very good at top pressure control. Like, I did not think he would look like that against Tony Ferguson. Tony was showing some old shades of Tony, hitting elbows from the bottom, but at one point it kind of felt like he just gave up on himself. But yeah, man, it pains me to say it, but Paddy looked good against Tony, so it is what it is, man. It's crazy, man. I can't believe this is where Tony Ferguson's career has gone to, but I guess that's just the fight game, man. And speaking of the fight game, we go to the last one I'm gonna cover, but Josh Emmett, oh my God. I did say that I do not like Bryce Mitchell in this fight, taking this on, such short notice, and bam, Josh Emmett puts him down with, up there with knockout of the year candidate. Who would have thought, last card of the year, he lands like a knockout of the year. One punch sleeper, like damn near puts Bryce Mitchell in like a seizure almost. And man, obviously my thoughts and prayers are with Bryce. We'd never want to see, an athlete, down like that, having a seizure on the canvas. But man, it's to be said, you cannot play with the firepower of Josh Emmett. He is 100% the hardest hitting featherweight in the division. And I think with that win, he should keep his spot at number 6. But dude, that kind of puts a halt to Bryce Mitchell, man. He was the one taking the fight on short notice, fighting a guy ranked above him. And to get put out like that, I think he definitely needs some time off, to reassess things. And so really there are two ways you could go around this. You could take the approach of, giving Josh Emmett more of a favorable matchup, someone to build off to, build up more momentum on Josh Emmett, with him being, that guy having, the hardest, hitting punch in featherweight. Or you could take the other route where you just put him against another killer, man. You put him against Giga Chikadze and reschedule that fight. I see a lot of people on social media, on the MMA community saying, well, just do the fight again, rebook him and Giga. And I think that's a very likely option because he took no damage, and Giga said he's going to be ready in February, so... I'm not mad at the matchup, but I think we all know, like, with the fight with Giga Chikadze, who the UFC is kind of leaning towards. We also had amazing moments in this card, like Irene Aldana's, like, definitely women's fight of the year, with Kel Rosa. Like, that was such an amazing fight. I mean, both girls looked like they just got out of a horror movie. And, obviously, Cody Garbrandt, dude. Jesus Christ, he looked amazing against Brian Kelleher. We might actually be seeing, the second coming, of Cody Garbrandt. This is 2 wins in a row, one by knockout. So I really hope, they still keep this approach where they're feeding him, guys that are more favorable to, build up, Cody's hype. And, Touchy Feely looked really good, getting that first round knockout. I mean, super excited to see who they scheduled that guy against too, man. I've always been a touchy-feely fan. Overall, it was a great card, you know. It was kind of shocker. Like, it was very unpredictable. Like, towards like the early prelims, like I feel like that tends to be how it goes. Like, you're more likely to predict those ones. But yeah, once we got to like the main card, you know, I saw a lot of people split between Tony, Patty, and of course, you know, Leon and Colby. But man, I'm so excited for 2024. Like, I can't believe we have to wait, you know, a month for more fights, man. That sucks. But overall, you guys, great card. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.